We are back, everyone. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, Monday edition, always spicy with the waiver wire ads, NHL news from the weekend, and of course, big time bets. Let's get right to it, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab, everybody. That is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, your source for fantasy hockey news and degenerate gambling breakdowns. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. We see and appreciate that love from all our listeners, and we hope we are paying you back with some good fantasy targets, bets, and otherwise. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. Steele, every single weekend from now until the end of the season, the fantasy season or otherwise, for hockey fans, it's intense. There's a lot going on. Of course, in the lead up to the deadline, even more so. Today, we're going to talk about some players that have deadline implications. Jonathan Toews, there's news.
Yeah.
Obviously, that has ripple effects. We're going to get there. Waiver wire targets. I got a bunch of ones that I'm ready to get your opinion on. And of course, big time bets at the end of the show. But look, to me, Chicago Blackhawks, Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, big part of what the NHL has been over the last, 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So much winning, so much good quality teams year in and year out. Yes, lots of issues with this franchise as well. We don't need to go there. Toews struggling with illness. He won't be traded. He's stepping away for a while.
Yeah.
What do you think about this overall? We're going to get to waiver wire. We're going to get to bets. But what do you think about this Toews situation and what it means now? Obviously, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, it's very unlikely he goes anywhere now. I don't think teams are willing to
at least this season, I should say. So.
At least this season. I don't think teams are willing to sacrifice any picks, prospects to go over to Chicago for Jonathan Toews or Patrick Kane at this point. You know, obviously he dealt with this last year. He missed a lot of the season over the last year and a half with the chronic immune response syndrome.
2 years ago,
2 years ago, the effects of COVID-19 that has really just lasted over that span of time for him. So, you know, first of all, just want to say that, you know, wishing him the best, wishing that he gets healthy as soon as possible. But yeah, I don't think teams are in on him. And it's definitely sucks for teams like the Colorado Avalanche and the Seattle Kraken. I know those two teams were the top two on Jonathan Toews. And, you know, like we said so many times, the Avalanche trying to fill in that big hole, that gap that is there now because of Nazem Kadri's absence when he decided to join the Calgary Flames. Seattle Kraken trying to make a push for their first postseason berth since becoming a franchise, first in 2 seasons in the league now. And Jonathan Toews is just one of those guys that could bring a lot of center depth and value down the middle. Like they got Beniers on the top line. He's been great. Wenberg, Gordon, Geekie. I don't think they're going to cut it for the first playoff series in Seattle Kraken history. And Jonathan Toews would have added a ton of value if they were able to land him. But again, just two teams that were in the mix. And that's why it was so important for the Leafs to kind of make that trade happen for O'Reilly, the, you know, Islanders and Rangers to get their guys first. Because now there's not a ton of options on the forward side, especially down the middle, that bring a ton of value. Like the two prolific goal scorers, Horvat and Tarasenko, are now gone. O'Reilly and Achari, the depth centermen, who can play wing as well, are now gone. Now teams that are looking for pieces are kind of struggling to find out what they can get.
And I really do think he would have been perfect in Seattle. Also just great to take a guy like Beniers under his wing, even if it was just for the end of the season. I really did think that's where he was headed. And I do think if not for, this is looking into this in the story on NHL.com. So he missed the 2020-2021 season with chronic immune response syndrome, then gets COVID, now has the lasting effects of COVID. This is a guy, too, to me, Steele, just the epitome of a leader on and off the ice. Captain serious. Jonathan Toews has got it done at every single level of his career. And I think he was a guy that a lot of us had eyes on, because if he went to a team like the Kraken and they score a lot of goals, I'm going to talk about that at my waiver wire time. That would have been a big bump in his value down the stretch. I would have been taking a look at Jonathan Toews. Anyway, just kind of another thing for Chicago. They can't even get this rebuild right, Steele. And if they can't move Patrick Kane and they get nothing for both of these players,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, we're going to be talking about fading this team on the bet segment for many years to come. If you're okay with it, though, let's get to these waiver wire targets because, again, and I'm going to keep saying it, this is going to make or break your season. Your ability as a fantasy GM to pick your spots and fill in.
Yes.
There's going to be injuries right now, Steele. Guys are banged up across the league. This is a physical game. So who are you looking at? I got a couple of guys in, I think, really good situations. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, the first guy I'm looking at is a guy that I've given a lot of grief, rightfully so, over the last month, and it's Alexis Lafreniere of the New York Rangers. He has been absolutely fantastic the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Rostered right now at 29% on Yahoo, 18% on ESPN. Like I said, the Rangers go out, they acquire Vladimir Tarasenko and Nico Mikkola. They haven't lost in regulation since that trade. They have had a couple of very spectacular comeback from behind wins so far, but they haven't lost a game in regulation yet. So Tarasenko is doing his job offensively. He's given them a little bit of an extra boost, and a lot of their talented guys are finding their game right now. And Lafreniere was one of them. The Rangers also traded for Tyler Mott, who is a great fourth liner, so their team gets a little bit better on the bottom six.
Yep.
But Lafreniere, 28 points in 55 games now, 5 goals, 9 points in his last 10 games. In the 10 previous to those 10, he had only 2 points. So he's catching fire right now.
Yep.
And it has to do with that extra boost they got from Tarasenko. The lines are a little bit more balanced. Hedo's been absolutely great. Capo Caco's heating up right now. He's got 9 points in his last 10 games as well. And this is what I like about Lafreniere's game the last week and a half, is that he's finally accepting the role that he's in with the Rangers. He's not that top guy, even though he was the number 1 overall pick. He's not the top guy. He has to kind of he needs to find his game where he is right now in the NHL and with the New York Rangers. And I think he's doing that the last week and a half. He's finding that balance. And at this point, again, we know he's a skillful player. He was the number 1 overall pick for a reason. Go out and showcase why you were the number 1 overall pick. And he's playing great right now. The Rangers have 4 games this upcoming week: Winnipeg Jets, Detroit Red Wings, Washington Capitals, and the LA Kings. So 4 games, very advantageous for the Rangers.
Really like those matchups for high-scoring games for a team that's been scoring a lot of goals since even before Tarasenko was in the lineup. Mika Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin have been clicking. And honestly, I said last week, Alexis Lafreniere, he was right at the top of my picks last week, and he went off for a week. And I just said, I want a piece of what's going on in New York. So if Lafreniere isn't available, Steele alluded to Capo Caco and Filipino, go out there and get a piece of that third line. Honestly, if Keandre Miller is still out there, go get a piece of him as well. That guy is going to go off over the next few years as well, Steele. I had that in my notes. Keandre Miller, keeper dynasty. Flip tip of the episode: if your season is done, go out there and position yourself nicely for next year and get Keandre Miller. That's my tip for the dynasty side of things for tonight. Listen, I was at the game on Saturday night live watching the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Montreal Canadiens. And I understand the quality of the team the Toronto Maple Leafs were playing. In the Montreal Canadiens, Jake Allen is a NHL goalie. And he has been playing pretty well over the last few games. The Leafs dominated. Ryan O'Reilly in this lineup is going to do big things. Do I think he stays up the middle, Steele? They had O'Reilly up the middle, and they had Johnny T on the wing. I don't think so. But this is going to make major impacts. And I honestly think this Leafs team isn't done making additions. And that, again, like the New York Rangers situation, this isn't rocket science, Steele. They're adding a big name. The team gets fired up, and look at them go. Now look at the Toronto Maple Leafs go. You mentioned on our little weekend special episode, take a shot on O'Reilly if you can. I say take a shot on O'Reilly for sure. And otherwise, Calle Jarnkrok. And I'll explain it a little bit after the break, but Calle Jarnkrok, O'Reilly for the Leafs. For me, go out there and take a shot offensively, and O'Reilly's going to fill in a lot of categories for you. 52% owned on ESPN. Jarnkrok is out there. Go fill in for the week. I don't know what you think about those two, but the Leafs are going to go off. 3 games
Yeah.
this week as well.
I like both those players. And I think definitely taking a shot at Ryan O'Reilly is the right move right now. And you know what, from what I've seen and what I've said and what I think is going to happen, I think it's a great move for O'Reilly to kind of jump back and forth from centering the third line as well as playing wing on the second line with John Tavares.
They're going to give him some different looks, I think.
Exactly. And that's what the point is up until March 3rd, the NHL trade deadline. That's why they made the move so early, is that they can kind of change things about, get chemistry going with different guys so that he can get relaxed, get in and get comfortable with his new organization here. And from what I saw in that first game is Ryan O'Reilly is going to need to be ready every single time he is on the ice with Mitch Marner. You never know when Mitch Marner is going to throw the puck your way, because he can thread the needle like no one else in the league. He can get you the puck from the most difficult spots on the ice. So he needs to be ready. And he needs to be prepared whenever he's playing on that second line with Marner and Tavares. So I definitely think taking a shot at Ryan O'Reilly. We are going to get to big time bets. We're going to continue with waiver wire targets. But thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. So make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. And thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. Flip, we are going to get to waiver wire targets, but Athletic Greens, right?
Baby, I can't do the rest of the episode, Steele, without talking about our friends at Athletic Greens and AG1, our next partner, AG1 Athletic Greens. Steele and I use it basically every single day. And we started taking it because, honestly, it is lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free. It helps you stay healthy. Less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals. It supports better sleep. It helps you recover from injury, mental clarity, alertness, and it helps you age with grace. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing. It is recommended by over 7,000 5-star reviews and professional athletes around the world, including such health experts as Timmy Ferriss and Michael Gervais. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. With just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day, that's it. No need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do is head over to athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. I almost made it out there, Steele.
Absolutely love AG1, proud sponsor of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Love them here along with our other sponsors. Let's get over it. Let's continue talking about these waiver wire targets for this upcoming week, February 20th to the 27th or 26th. My next guy comes from the Buffalo Sabres. He's been pretty great the last 4 to 5 games. Taking a look at the third line, Caset Mittelstadt. He is definitely out there in every single league. He's rostered below 5% right now, so he's definitely available. 9 goals, 33 points in 54 games for Mittelstadt. Top 6 on the Buffalo Sabres right now for points. 5 points in his last 5 games. And I know you appreciate this. He's getting over that 5.5 minutes of ice time that you really, really like.
15? So did you mean 15?
Yeah.
You said 5.5.
Oh, at 15 and a half.
Yeah, I was like 5 minutes, Steele.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, he's played more than 5 minutes for sure with 33 points.
15 minutes. Yeah, it's an important number for me. It's also like you got to take a risk on a guy. You might as well take a guy who's playing more minutes. So appreciate you.
And the thing too is he's averaging 15 and a half minutes, but there are times where he sees a little bit more ice time. In certain situations, he gets up to 17, 18 and a half minutes, which is great, obviously. And it is a very dangerous week for the Buffalo Sabres. 4 games this week, 4 Eastern Conference teams, 3 from the Atlantic Division. They start with Toronto on Tuesday, then have a back-to-back against Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers, and then finish the week off on Sunday against the Washington Capitals. So I expect a very high-scoring, very fast-paced hockey games for the Buffalo Sabres this upcoming week. And Caset Mittelstadt is going to continue to see some ice time more frequently in certain situations. So definitely take a look at him if you have the option.
He was a really highly touted draft pick who didn't really pan out off the start, but he has got talent still. And when I look up and down that Buffalo lineup, there's a lot of these guys who are just kind of coming into their own.
Yeah.
And even guys like Peyton Krebs who aren't getting there yet, who had awesome minor careers. Caset Mittelstadt, coming out of the American program. I think he's just starting to scratch the surface as well. So much offensive talent with this Sabres team. You can't help but feel that over the next year or two, they're really going to start focusing on that back end and the goaltending to just
Yeah.
prop up how awesome they are up front still. Love that. I'm looking at a player and a team that you've mentioned a couple of times, and someone who I don't know if you said last week to go and take a look at Eberle, but it may have been the week before, and he is going off. I watched the
Yeah.
highlights at length from Detroit, Seattle at Saturday night. He had 3 points. He's playing on the top line with Matty Beniers. And what I have here in my notes that I underlined, I wrote it down last night after I saw some of the game. The chemistry he has with Matty Beniers right now, they're finding each other all over the ice. And really, if he's getting a look on that top line steal and putting up the points that he is right now, 2 goals, 1 assist against the Red Wings, 2 assists the night before, 2 points 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago. Eberle right now, you need a boost. He's also out there. Where is this deal? 15% on ESPN. The
Yeah.
Kraken have 3 games this week. The chemistry with Beniers, this guy, you need offense this week. Go out there and get Jordan Eberle.
Yeah, to me, it's honestly amazing seeing a past star kind of play with a young star on this current team right now and helping Matty Beniers grow and develop his game. The chemistry is undeniable.
45 points this year for Eberle as well.
Yeah.
Not bad.
I love picking up Jordan Eberle whenever I can in certain situations when the Kraken have 4 games or he's just or he's catching a hot streak. So I like Eberle right now. He's catching fire. This is a guy that you and I just talked about off air, Jake McCabe of the Chicago Blackhawks, a guy that you and I both think that the Toronto Maple Leafs target probably to finish off their trade deadline acquisitions before March 3rd to get a little bit of a boost on the blue line. Rostered at 5% on Yahoo, 20% on ESPN, but he has been a very, very nice surprise for the Chicago Blackhawks blue line this year. 2 goals, 19 points. That's usually what he sticks around to every single year. He's on pace for a career high, which is 22 from last year. And he's on pace for a career high in most of the peripheral stats out there. Funny enough, he is actually the only player on the Chicago Blackhawks with a positive for the plus-minus category. He is a +3 on the season, which leads the Blackhawks. Absolutely hilarious to me.
That's also kind of impressive, I think.
It is impressive.
How bad they are.
It is very impressive considering all things for the Chicago Blackhawks. But he's got 4 assists in his last 5 games. Doesn't shoot the puck a ton, 66 shots on net, but 109 hits, 105 blocks. He chips in every now and again with 4 in his last 5 games. Blackhawks only have 3 games this week. Golden Knights, Dallas Stars, and the San Jose Sharks. So if you need a defenseman, he does answer those peripheral stats, and it does add up over some time.
And if he does get dealt to a contender and you jumped on him now, you might be keeping him more for just a week to week. You might hang on to him for the rest of the season, especially if, I don't see him going to a team on the fringe still. I think he's going to go to bolster a team that's trying to make a deep run. Very quickly, one of the teams that I said I'm going to be sprinkling on to make a deep run, it's the LA Kings, and they've continued to put up goals. Yeah, they've blown some leads. Yeah, they give up some goals, and I think they're going to try and address that. I think they go blue line and goaltending first for these issues at the deadline. But honestly, get yourself a piece of the LA Kings offense wherever you can get it. And I have down Danault's name. I have down Arvidsson's name. They're in that 50 to 60% owned range. They're putting up points. The LA Kings have scored as many goals as the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. 2 more goals than the New Jersey Devils this year. This team is offensively gifted, and they're rolling right now. Get yourself a piece of this team while you can. Also, 4 games this week for the LA Kings on tap. You got to get some of them while they're hot. I would go at Danault and Arvidsson because they're probably available, putting up assists. They each have 3 or 4 points over their last couple of games. I need some LA Kings if I'm looking for an offensive boost this upcoming week. And the 4 games, cherry on top.
Yeah, I was looking at a couple of LA Kings players as well. Blake Lizotte being one of them. He's
Woo!
played a lot better recently. So yeah, I think if you can grab any LA Kings forward, especially any of those guys in the top six, like you said, you and I talk about Victor Arvidsson all the time.
It's true.
The fact that he's still rostered below, what is it, 45 or 40% right now? He's probably even lower, but
He's
the
right
fact that
around that number.
the fact that he's still out there is kind of unfathomable to me. But we'll leave it at that. Go out there and get Victor Arvidsson. My last two guys, real quick. Dillion Dube of the Calgary Flames, 20% rostered right now, 34 points in 56 games. He has almost got a career high in everything. He probably will have a career high in everything at the end of the season. 7 points in his last 4 games. Flyers, Calgary Flames have 4 games this week. Flyers, Coyotes, Golden Knights, and Avalanche. At the same time, I think you should also take a look at Daniel Vladar. I think he's going to see a little bit of a run out for the remainder of the season. I don't think Markstrom still continue to be even close to his best 4 games. Definitely, there's a back.
He was pretty good against the Rangers Saturday, though. Markstrom, just saying.
Two goals against on 18 shots. 900 save percentage.
He needs to be better. I'm with you.
He does need to be better. It wasn't his worst game. Definitely wasn't his best. But no. I think Vladar is going to get a little bit of a run out here. There is a back-to-back situation, so Vladar is going to get at least one of this upcoming week. I think he probably gets 2 or even 3 at the most. I just think he's been the better goalie so far this year. Markstrom, again, he's only got 2 wins in his last 5 starts. Not playing great hockey. So those are my last 2 waiver wire targets. Flip, do you have any last waiver wire targets before we get to big time bets?
I reamed them all off. I'm ready for big time bets, pal. Let's have a big week.
Absolutely beautiful. I am ready for big time bets too. Having a good night myself, actually.
Hey.
But we can't talk about bets without mentioning FanDuel. The midway point of the NBA season is upon us right now. It is here, and it is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000, that's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scorers and even 3 points drained. It is NBA All-Star Weekend, so there are 0 NBA games up until Thursday night. So in the meantime, go out there, bet on some hockey, bet on some NHL. Great games throughout this week, especially Monday for big-time bets. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. That is my favorite perk by far. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free. We are available on your favorite podcast platform, including YouTube. Hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. You know you want to. Help us out there, please. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. Flip, big time bets, where the money is made.
Yes, sir.
The last 2 to 3 days have actually been in my favor. It has gone my way. Haven't hit all of them, haven't gone 3 for 3, but 2 out of 3 every single night, not bad. I will throw it over to you because you are the king. You are the champion. You're hitting everything on the nail right now.
Not quite, but I appreciate that love. Steele. That was a very nice preamble, by the way. I don't know how I'm going to live up to that hype, but I'm going to go back to the well. And honestly, the Seattle Kraken have looked really good over the last couple of games, 2 specifically. And they're going into San Jose, a team that they've beat in 4 of the 5 games that they've played this team. The San Jose Sharks have a lot going on with them on and off the ice with all the trade rumors to key pieces and whatnot. And they're just, they're not a good team, Steele. They have played okay over the last 7 games, but they've lost 3 in a row. They're struggling to score goals, and the Seattle Kraken are not very good. Minus 137 on the money line is a pretty good odd for me as well, Steele. I know the Kraken don't actually play the greatest away from their home barn. 1 win over their last 6 on the road, so that makes me a little nervous. But for the odd, I'm fine taking, in my opinion, the much better team. Kraken, on the money line against San Jose. Matty Beniers is rolling. Eberle is rolling. I think it's a bunch of goals from that top line again. Kraken, money line, 137. My first bet.
I'm with you right there. I was very close to putting this in the top 3. It definitely is going to be in my parlay for Monday night's bets. My first pick, going a little different route here.
Okay.
I think it's just a little bit of a sticky situation for the Ottawa Senators, second of a back-to-back going up against the Boston Bruins. I'm actually going to take the Bruins on the puck line against the Ottawa Senators for my first pick. And for my second pick, I'm taking the Panthers on the puck line against the Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah.
The Panthers got absolutely embarrassed the other night against the Nashville Predators. They lost 7-3, I believe it was. Absolutely embarrassed. Sergei Bobrovsky was not good. Spencer Knight comes in. He wasn't good. I think they have a big bounce back game against the worst team probably in the NHL right now. Yeah. Panthers, Bruins on the puck line. Those are my first 2 picks.
Going with the heavy favorites, you can't fully hate it, especially because of the angles that you're discussing. If you don't mind, I'm going to fire off my last 2 picks because they both come from the same game. I watched the Rangers-Calgary game, the end of it.
Yeah.
The Calgary Flames came out like a house of fire, and honestly, I thought they were, no pun intended there, but I thought they were going to put up 4 or 5, and the way the Rangers have been allowing goals, that was the way it looked. They almost blew it, but they pulled together a very big team win, and almost more importantly, I think it was Jonathan Huberdeau's best game as a Flame.
Yeah.
He started to look comfortable. He started to do what he does best, create, make nice passes, draw the D to him. He was doing it all. He found a little bit of confidence. Calgary Flames use that win at home against the Philadelphia Flyers right now are on that West Coast road trip. Always tough for an East Coast team. Flames, puck line. They really pick it up here, I think, Steele, with that big-time win against the Rangers. And my lock of the night, it might even be at 1.5 assists. But I say we go watch Jonathan Huberdeau go off a little bit here. He is way too good of a player for how much he struggled. And yes, he needs to step up. And one game is one game. So he needs to do this consistently down the stretch for this Calgary Flames team if they even want to be considered as a playoff team making noise. And I think he is that good. Huberdeau, 2 assists, I think might be the number, Steele. But if it's anytime assist, jump all over it. I think he has another multi-assist game. That's my lock of the night.
I like the lock of the night. I will definitely take a Huberdeau anytime assist. That game against the Rangers, that was probably, you're right, that was his best game yet. Way more confident, setting up his teammates, doing everything, the second and the winning goal in overtime that he was a part of. So I like that bet. I'm not sure about the Flames on the puck line. Okay. I completely agree with you that the West Coast road trip for the Philadelphia Flyers for any team in the East is a very hard one, but the Flames again just have been a little bit wobbly, I want to say. So that one scares me a bit. I'm going to stay away from that one, but I do like the anytime assist from Jonathan Huberdeau. My lock of the night, I think you'll appreciate this. I'm going with Mika Zibanejad anytime goal. He has been lighting the lamp like no tomorrow. It is his day job, and that's what he does. 11 points in his last 6 games. 8 of those points are goals. He didn't get any points or he didn't score any goals in that overtime loss to the Flames the other day. But the previous 6 games, he had 11 points. 8 of those were goals. He's firing on all cylinders right now. He is the best player for the New York Rangers, and he's showcasing that. So that's my lock of the night. Mika Zibanejad anytime goal. 2 player props for the lock of the night. Absolutely love it. Mika Zibanejad, anytime goal. Jonathan Huberdeau, either over 1.5 assists or anytime assists. Which one are you going with, Flip?
It depends where the line is set.
It depends where the line is.
And tweet it out, just with how hot he's been. They might creep that up to 1.5, which is obviously going to make me nervous. But I think he has another big night.
I think definitely so. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. We are available Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time on YouTube and your favorite podcast platforms. So make sure you hit the subscribe, hit the follow button, and thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.